there's a concept when I remember people becoming partners at Deloitte and being like, oh my God, you've made it in your career. And they're like, no, once you hit partner, you actually realize you're just another baby. You're now a baby partner. Okay. So sometimes in the morning, I'll be just getting ready and I'll just put it on and be like, all right, we got to boost my confidence. Let's go. Tell me all the amazing things about me.
What have you programmed it to say?
I don't know. It just says that you're creating a influential product and you're on the right path.
So real proper, like, yeah, you should get it to play music at the same time.
Yeah, my husband asked, why is it a man? I was like, because I want it to like be a man. Yeah. You know, some media came out about it. It was all really exciting. And then people are still congratulating me. And I kind of was like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Got to get back to work.
I gotta go make money. It was just like this. I thought it would be this life-changing moment. I've got this plaque. It's really cool. It's like a thing that no one will ever be able to take away from me. But you get it, and then you're like, the next one. My whole family and everyone looks forward to my New Year's event because every New Year's, everyone who comes gets to plan their family goals and strategy session. So the beginning of the day starts.
You have a strategy session on New Year's Eve?
Yep. It's your resolution strategy day. So I set up the wall with everyone's names across the top, including the kids. And then along the side is like the next 3-month, 6-month, 12-month personal goal. How old are your kids? 3 and 6. Oh, probably a good idea. But there's never a time when there's not a bottle of Fireball in my house.
That's
for such an occasion that might need to celebrate something, or when the kids are really horrible.
Brittany, welcome to the show. We've been trying to get you on, 5 times? We've had to reschedule, partly you and mostly me, I think. Probably more me. I'm glad to finally have you here. And I'm super excited to talk about the last 2 years because you've gone from there to there in such a short space of time. And it's just a cool story. So I'm looking forward to exploring it with you and finding out where you're going to. Oh. So for the audience, introduce yourself and tell us your name of your business and what it is that you do right now.
Britt Fox. My company is Nevam, which is a made-up word.
I love made-up words.
Yeah. It's Maven backwards. Maven being a connoisseur, a connector from Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point. Yep. Loved the word. Named my daughter to Maven.
Did you?
Yeah. I thought, it was like, where are you going to find this name? I thought it was so cool.
It's actually a very cool girl name. Yeah. You could use it for a boy as well, I suppose.
Yeah. I think there's only one other person named Maven. And so when I was looking at SEO and trying to find a thing, I was like, well, I'm the back end of your connections. That's the vision that I thought about it. So I named it Nevam. And today we are living journey maps for marketers. And tomorrow, a digital twin for all of customer experience.
Oh, I always liked the concept of your business when you first pitched it. Mm. So why don't we talk about that? But before we talk about how we met, which we've just refreshed on because we couldn't remember.
A lot happens in 18 months.
Yeah, it's crazy. What were you doing before you started? Obviously, you're working in marketing, but what were you doing just before you started this business? And what made you leave to go and do this? What was the trigger point?
I was consulting at Deloitte.
Yep.
My job at Deloitte was being this kind of conduit SME of customer experience and marketing. Specifically, my strength was auditing detailed experiences that were very complex across really large ecosystems and being the bridge that could see how it would become the customer experience and then how that would transfer into the data and technical requirements that the development teams would need to build that future state experience. So I kind of sat as enterprise's customer custodian that would make their blue sky vision come to life technically.
We need to go into this deeper because I did not understand that fully.
I know.
So
it's hard.
So
it's niche.
So Deloitte were building solutions. That was the end game, right? Was to sell them the consulting to build a solution to solve a problem.
Mostly the clients had probably bought a tech,
right?
Or they were about to buy a tech,
like a CRM or
MarTech solutions. So like Salesforce, Adobe, Braze.
Okay, so they bought that and they wanted to work out how to use it to give their customer journey the maximum amount of I don't know. Is that right? Or is it more about acquisition or
it was pretty much a digital transformation so that they were in siloed teams and marketing had become bigger and bigger. Their data was pretty messy because they had been kind of bolting on new tech as we went. And so when you put it in, and then it would be really hard because they would go to RFP and they'd buy a new tech and they would be scoped to just kind of lift and shift the current experience. And then they'd spend millions of dollars lifting and shifting what they already had into a new beautiful tech stack. And so I would kind of be the person who would go, hold on, let's just see what you have everywhere. Where do you want to be? And let's actually bring those in as the requirements so that you're not lifting and shifting, you're growing. And then I kind of started to implement more of like a optimization flywheel framework within these organizations. So it wasn't these huge digital transformations that never end, that like had an endpoint, but they were an always on iterative build.
Okay. That makes much more sense. So what makes you want to leave a job like that? Because that would be interesting, right? I mean, one of the good things about consulting is there's client to client. I know there's the classic consultant line is, I want to leave consulting because I never get to see the results of my work because we leave after we've done the job, which I guess is frustrating. But I mean, you didn't do that. You left to start your own thing. So what drives you to want to do that when you're pretty, I would imagine, engrossed? I mean, it's pretty full-on consulting, right? So when you're in these projects, you're in these projects. I wouldn't imagine there's a lot of headspace. What makes you leave Deloitte to go and do that?
Mostly that I was watching really amazing IP and good work die because it was living across so many different teams and systems that I wanted to enable the clients to not always need us to come and do. Every consulting project pretty much starts with discovery, which means that you have to send me everything and I have to get my head wrapped around you. And you spend several $100,000s on me doing that before I can even go. And then I'm going to send you a recommendation. And then we're going to talk about that for a really long time. And it's going to create this program of work. And then and it's like, it's exhausting even me telling you about it.
It is, particularly when you say really long time.
These are years. Like these are projects that last months to years. And I was just like, there's got to be a better way. And especially when I would get in a project that I would audit the experience and I'd have to use something like a Miro board or wrap an entire room in 0.1 font journey maps and screen grabs of pages and try to tell them like, in order to do this, you have 30 steps you have to get done. And I just wanted to enable these big enterprises that were in their own way. And the consulting business model was, and I think it's shifting now. I'm seeing a lot of media about how they're shifting their approach. But when I was there, it was very like product driven, partnership driven. They'd buy the tech and then the SMEs would just come and implement that tech. And you're kind of looking like this. You're only looking at the thing that you're fixing rather than how do we actually make this work better for the customer? It was more about the financial revenue they were going to make. And I saw a better way where I was doing a repeatable process over and over and over again and for different use cases. So it could be I'm coming to talk to your business about how we're going to implement personalization across your experience. I'm coming to your business to talk about how we're going to implement CDP, which will now enable the marketing team to use audiences across all of your media channels. It doesn't matter the use case. I kind of created the same framework over and over and over again, and it felt ridiculous.
I guess it would also I can almost hear the frustration in your voice now talking about it, but I guess it would just be so boring to some degree because you're going, okay, here we go again, same thing. And
when you've done it so many times, you know exactly what to look for. You know exactly, I could find insights in a client within 30 seconds. I could secret shop anybody and find 30 opportunities. I was just becoming a farmer.
So question then, do you pad it out when you're working, when you've got that job down so well, what might have taken you X amount of time, because consultants typically bill on hours worked, right, that you've got down. Did Deloitte want you to continue to spend this amount of time or do you just bill people less? Did you become less profitable because you were more efficient? How did that work? I've always wondered that.
It didn't matter actually because the time it took to audit these experiences still took the same amount of time because I was screen grabbing and doing the thinking between that. And then that would create a scope, which then I'd have to put into Post-its and then into spreadsheets and then explain it and give all the context on it. And I had a system, but it didn't make me faster. No. It just made it systemized.
Yeah, okay. And that's when you went, I could build something to do this.
Yeah, I was like, how do I automate this? First of all, I don't want to keep having to go to the website and screen grab it to make sure I've got the most recent content, because the second one of those line items gets actioned, the entire experience now is
different.
So
you got to go again.
Do it again.
Yeah, that would drive you nuts.
Yeah. And there are people whose job is that.
Wow. So you thought, I'm going to start my own business. So you decided to build your system into a piece of tech. Is that right?
It kind of happened where I was visualizing it for probably the last decade, thinking, so I was working at Gap and I was running big.
I remember you telling me that when I first met you. You said, I've been thinking about this for 10 years.
Yeah, I just thought it existed. I was working at Gap. I was running the Gap casting call across the country, and I was doing it all by myself. And I just couldn't figure out what I was missing. And I was freaking out that I was missing something. And then I went to Children's Cancer Institute doing more campaigns. I felt like I didn't have anywhere where I was like, okay, is everything good? And then I got an opportunity with Deloitte. I had to Google Deloitte, honestly. I had a coffee with the partner and I was like, is Deloitte good? Like I was so naive.
Wow. Deloitte, you didn't know Deloitte?
I'm from a very small town. And I had no ambition to A, live in a big city, or B, work for a big company.
Okay, where are you from exactly? Which small town?
Ashland, Oregon.
And they don't have Deloitte there, obviously. No. But you never heard of Deloitte? I don't think that's and you're like in your what?
I'm sure it was big. Like I assumed it was
30s, 20s, 20s.
20s, I think. No, my 30th birthday, right before I turned 30. I mean, like I'm sure I've heard of it, but I didn't really know what it was.
That's incredible.
But I had to Google like what they actually did because I got referred.
I think a lot of people would ask that question.
Well, hard.
I don't think a lot of people know what Deloitte do.
No, it's like consulting. If you don't really know what consulting is, Anyways, I got.
So how did you get the interview? You just rang the partner?
I got referred to have a coffee meeting for mentorship.
Okay.
And I met with one of the partners. We had a coffee. It went for over an hour. And then I went on my merry way and he said, I want you to meet my business partner. Went and had another coffee. And then they said, I think you should come work for us. And so I sent them my resume and then I just ended up in the job process. I met another partner and then I started and I don't know. And then we did the first grad intake and I was like, oh, this is actually really hard to get into for other people.
You just broke like 100 people's hearts how easily you just breezed into Deloitte. So many people trying to get into Deloitte.
Yeah, maybe my naivety, whatever that word is, helped me because I just talked to them about my pain points of being a marketer and where I wanted to stitch things together and I was having a hard time and and I wanted mentorship into the next role because I wanted to not have someone constantly talking about politics with me. I wanted to elevate myself to own the end-to-end customer experience. Right. And when they were asking very pointed questions now on reflection about my experience with Salesforce and my experience like designing campaigns. And I thought they were just trying to understand what I had gaps in. And then they were like, I think you can come in and help us.
Do you think they always had that intention, or do you think they met you and thought, hold on, or do you think they saw your resume and said, yeah, we'll mentor her, maybe we can hire her? You might have been exactly what they were after.
Maybe.
Well, evidently were.
Maybe. I mean, I just thought at the time I was thinking, oh, like Gap and Children's Cancer Institute. I mean, there's a confidence thing right there. And I had been told by my bosses, like, sit in the chair, do your work. I was stepping outside and I was pretty low on confidence. So I actually did not think that I would be at that level ever.
Well, and look at you now.
Well, now I feel like I'm just at the bottom of the trenches. And this is
that's not true.
Well, there's a concept when I remember people becoming partners at Deloitte and being like, oh my God, you've made it in your career. And they're like, no, once you hit partner, you actually realize you're just another baby. you're now a baby partner
Again,
and you've got another level to go.
There's always another level, right? They always say there's always someone better at whatever it is you're doing. There's always someone more successful, richer, fatter, fitter, whatever it is you want. There's always someone.
Always someone. And that's so true. And then you jump in and you feel like you're back at being a baby again, especially when you're talking to other founders who are even just a year ahead in experience. It's the years of experience and the types of experience, because you can't fast track the founder experience.
No, you
have to go through it.
It's like having a child, right? It's impossible to explain it. You cannot articulate what it feels like.
And you meet another founder who's in the beginning of the journey. You're like, okay, that's where you are. Okay, cool. Now I know what it was like when someone had a coffee with me and how I was asking these questions because I was at that stage of being on the journey.
But you left Deloitte to start a business. That's not a low confidence position.
Well, I had a safety net. I actually started it while I was on maternity leave.
And so I met you, were you still on mat leave or were you?
No, I had my second daughter in March 2023, and a bunch of redundancies were happening around Deloitte and a bunch of businesses around the December time of that year. And my boss said I needed to make a decision. I had been pretty transparent that I had this idea, and before I even went on maternity leave, I was kind of tinkering around with it with him and getting his ideas and thoughts on it. And he was like, I think it has legs. And if you want to take maternity leave, go and think about it and I'll back you. And so on maternity leave, that's when I was doing the process. Wasn't like taking any money in or anything like that. No. Just researching, doing lots of interviews, going to startup events, just like figuring out how to do it.
Yep.
And so in December, when all the redundancies were kind of happening, I had to make a decision. And I just was like, okay, I'm going all in. And my husband and I were like, all right, we made some big savings accounts, like pulled some money from selling our house and put that in as like a fake salary for me for the year to go. So we weren't like stressed, but more about like, okay, this is your job for the next year is to make.
Don't fuck it up.
I had a year runway.
And then you came to Stride to do the pitch.
I had no idea.
Was it a 10-week course? I think it was. Was it 10 weeks?
Yeah, and I just didn't understand the investment process at all. And I was trying to find out any way possible to figure it out.
I thought Stride was good in the explanation. I think they got an interesting group of mentors to do the explanation. And obviously you said you didn't know how to pitch, which it probably wasn't true because you pitched yourself as a Deloitte consultant every time you went into a client. But and then we started doing pitch lessons together, and you stood in our old studio and pitched in front of the camera and the green screen and all that stuff. Did you find that process useful, like the actual Stride program?
The Stride program, I think I still had a gap between understanding. I thought maybe there was some basics that I didn't still have. So it was going straight into financial models, and I still didn't understand how to start or where to go from those sessions. So I found those a bit difficult. I think the most value I got out of it were those pitching sessions in front of a camera, watching myself again. And even when you kind of were like, you've pitched, but you've missed these 3 key points, and you kind of went through my script with me. And I realized, and even when Maria was like, you walk in and you've immediately lost my attention because you've introduced yourself.
We're pretty brutal in those sessions.
Oh, but I love it.
Yeah. I enjoyed doing those sessions, actually. Everybody improved so much. And then you went to Techstars, right?
Yeah.
And that probably gave you the bits that you missed, I would imagine, because it's obviously a much stronger proven program, been around for a long time. Did you raise your money at the end of Techstars, or was that later? It was later, wasn't it?
A couple months later. So it was actually, I went to Sunrise and I met
Going this year? It's in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Are we there?
Yeah. So I had been introduced to Brand Fund, part of Icehouse Ventures. And so I met them in person at Sunrise last year. And then I had my investment committee a week later and closed my round 13 days later.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about the product, where it's at right now and what it does.
It's so cool.
That's it. We'll just leave it at that. It's just so cool.
I'm so excited. We've been demoing it. I've been demoing like 5 hours a day with some of the biggest enterprises in Australia right now because we actually just did Propeller. I don't know if you've heard what Propeller is.
I have not.
Oh, it's so cool. So hold on, tangent really quickly.
Yeah, I love tangent.
Propeller is a not-for-profit that supports female founders selling into enterprises.
Okay.
And rather than you pitching,
which would be hard.
Yeah.
Selling into enterprise is hard anyway.
Yeah. So this was created as a place where they vet the women based on their scalability and the product, and then you get an opportunity to pitch in front of an entire room of execs who are super connectors. So last month I pitched, I got accepted before Christmas. I pitched in Melbourne a couple weeks ago and got 72 referrals into my ICP enterprise connections.
That's huge.
Massive.
That is incredible. I'm going to look this up. That's amazing.
It is such a big supercharger for female founders.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. And the community within it is second.
Who runs that?
Kate. And I don't know why I'm blanking on her name. I can look her up right now. But
we'll just call her Kate.
Kate.
But
she's a CEO.
I'm gonna look that up. There's so many things to connect people, female founder things. There's loads of stuff, right? You and I know. But I feel a lot of it's very ineffective. That 72 connections is not ineffective. That's absolutely insane.
No, I'm meeting with CMOs of NAB, Bupa, Medibank.
That's wild.
Pet Barn, like everywhere that I wanted to get into. I am getting demos and meetings, and they are giving me their time because they want to see the ecosystem
and how's it going?
Thrive.
What's the initial response? I mean, they always take time, right?
They always take time, but the initial response is that I'm getting second and third meetings. And
this is good.
And yeah, and so we've kind of gone through the whole list of everyone, and that took a couple weeks to get things in the diary, still having first meetings with some of them. And then I've had first meetings and now I'm having second meetings. So like right after this, I'm going to meet with 3 different enterprises after this. So like for my first meetings with them that I got from that. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited.
I mean, 72, that's a lot. I mean, that's a good 3 months demos, right?
Oh, God, yeah. It's a lot of demos. And but it's like discovery. It's getting the introduction to the right person. It's kind of pitching yourself over again. But it's so much practice.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because I'm not cold emailing. I'm not asking for someone. It's like, this is a vetted
You're
referral.
rolling in at the top as well. You're not meeting the marketing manager who's 5 steps below the CMO, and it's going to, you have to do that level selling. You're right there.
Yeah.
What an incredible program.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that's my plug for Propeller. It's very well known for female founders because it is like the best way to get yourself in front of enterprises.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you walk into a warm room. Yeah. Because the process actually is you pitch for 7 minutes, you give an entire like product overview, like an investor meeting, but then they break you into breakout rooms. So then I go into a room and then everyone puts up their number and bids who they're going to introduce you to. And they put the name and the company on their record. And so then that goes into a master spreadsheet. So you walk into 3 rooms and people are bidding, like I'll introduce you to the CMO, blah, blah. And you're like, thank you. And so you sit in this room and you're just so like,
my God,
overwhelmed with the thought. And then you meet and you network afterwards and people are like, I'll introduce you to this, da, da, da. And then they just keep flowing. And
I want to film this process.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
How have I not heard of that? I've been too busy the last couple of years.
Yeah. So back to the product. We have built some custom crawlers. So we crawl a brand's website, and that pulls off their sitemap, a screen grab of every single website page, and then we have a custom app crawler.
So basically exactly what you used to do.
Yeah. Built an app crawler.
Yep.
We synced into Meta, so we have Instagram and Facebook, and then now we're building emails, APIs, and then we have direct integrations with Google and Adobe. So then when you pull the cards in of the website pages, we can also sync their analytics to it. And so that builds your channel library. So it's kind of like your asset library that's the most up to date. And then we've made the canvas like a Miro board. So then you can just drag any experience you want, build sections around it, and then it automatically syncs up the cards with each other because it crawls all the URLs and the destinations. So then if I drag a card in and then I drag and I'm like, okay, if I'm designing your experience and I land on your website and I want someone to book a call or whatever, I drag in that card and I drag in the next card. It will automatically go, yep, these ones, that's the path. And then it'll also show me all the alternative paths that I could take based on the CTAs.
I want to see a demo.
I know, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. So then in big enterprises where they're all building their own journey maps for their own product or their own segment or their own tech, they can create their own canvas, but every card that's ever been created across any of their canvases, even manually ones, sync. And so I don't lose the context. We're all using the same cards.
Yeah.
And then the layer underneath that is, if I have something that I find as a friction or I want an uplift in, I can add that insight to the experience. And then that can create its own scope of work that I can prioritize, and I can add backlog tickets of like what we're going to do. And those backlog tickets sync right into Jira. So then I can watch and see how the development team is working on that. Yeah. And then that insight and backlog and all that work and all that project management stays synced to that card. So then if I drag that card in and I'm like, oh, that is a freaking problem, I can see it's like, oh, someone's already working on it and this is how it's going. I don't have to go down email rabbit holes anymore. Yeah.
Or Slack or WhatsApp or any of the other thousands.
Or present it in a PowerPoint that dies. Like, I'm so sick of I love it. I do.
No one loves PowerPoint. No one. I mean, if there's a PowerPoint when you walk into a meeting, you're like, oh, it's going to be longer than I thought, this meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that's what it is today. We're automating all the journey mapping now. So imagine just being able to, we're designing it and building it right now. It's like, imagine just putting in a prompt and going, I want to design the journey for someone who comes on my website and wants to book a podcast. And then it kind of looks at the cards and the CTAs on your website, looks at the analytics and starts to recommend the cards that you should do to kind of build your journeys. So cool. Yeah. And then the kind of ROI on that we've found is big enterprises, they always look for the opportunity, but we're thinking about the cost of not taking the opportunity. So we're actually tracking from insight to action how long it takes you to act on that and fix the friction that's found so that you can actually figure out how much it's costing you how much opportunity you're losing.
Yeah. I mean, some of those sites are awful. Yeah. You just go, you know what? I just don't want it this much. Whatever it is I want it, I really don't want it this much.
Yeah, and everyone's been in this kind of accidental cycle of reacquiring the same customer, but the customer comes back thinking the experience is going to be different, and it's not. So like the media teams, they're adopting the coolest tools, they're doing the coolest stuff, but it does not mean a damn thing if they land on if your website can't convert a cold lead.
Yeah.
Which Absolutely. Most of them can't.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And so how many people you got in the team now?
We've got 5 here in Australia, plus 2 interns, and then 10 developers.
So tell me, it was you when I met you.
Mm-hmm.
You've now got this team. You're pitching to 70 enterprise clients. Big change in 2 years.
Mm.
What's been the hardest thing and what's been the easiest thing on that journey? Because there's always something that you go, and now let me rephrase that. What's the hardest thing that you weren't expecting to be hard? Because you'll probably say capital raising, because everyone always says capital raising. But what's been so much easier that you thought was going to be hard? So what's flipped, because there's always surprises as a founder.
I actually thought capital raising was going to be way harder.
Well, there you go. But
I still sometimes think I fluked it. I don't know how I did it.
No, look, 1, enterprise customers, that's the flavor of the month, right? But 2, you've got a product that works and that absolutely, it reduces the friction of what your job was. I know the job is to reduce the friction of the customers, but you've fast-tracked something. You've made it simple, and they don't have to go and spend millions of dollars with Deloitte.
Yeah, but the initial feedback when I was in Techstars was, how are you going to build a better moat? How are you going to build this to replace yourself? How are you going to build this? Da, 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 da. And there was a lot of feedback that really shocked me. But then the investors
shocked you in that you hadn't thought of it, or shocked you as in it was aggressive, or
shocked me that they didn't get it.
Okay.
But then the guys who did come on board, it was like one demo, and they were like, "I get it." And it was not a hard sell, and it was the most seamless, easy process. I actually thought I was like, "There's something I'm missing."
Yeah, it's terrifying when things work. I think
It's almost like it's going to fall apart. It's going to fall
I'm the
apart.
same. If anything works, I'm absolutely petrified. If it's not working, at least I got a target of how to fix it, right? I've got something to focus on. If it's working, you're kind of like, yeah. So you definitely didn't fluke it. That's for sure. So, all right, well, let's go. Capital raising was easier. What was harder that you thought probably wasn't, or just completely blew you away on the complexity? And it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It could be the mental joys of up and down as a founder or whatever. It doesn't matter.
There was a couple things, probably one about, I heard being a founder was lonely. What I hadn't anticipated was that there is this like perception that even the smallest conversations can turn someone's perception of you. And so you have to have unrelenting confidence even in...
Oh, give me an example of that. That's a really interesting line. So what do you mean that you could say slightly the wrong thing and they'll lose confidence in you as a founder? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Down to your team, down to investors, down to like some of your friends who might meet an investor or networks that you're in, even your family.
So don't let your family and friends meet investors.
No.
Is that what we're saying?
It's just really hard there's like your circle of transparency and like, I'm feeling really fucking stressed. Sorry, I did cuss. There you go. Now
I did it earlier. It's all right.
Okay.
And you said the word cuss, which is even better.
I know. What do you call it? Swear word. The circle of who you're gonna totally break down to becomes smaller.
I don't know if I've been a founder for like, I don't know, 25 years or something stupid. I don't think there's anyone you ever really let know how you're feeling. Anyone. I mean, there's very few people you let know how you're feeling, at all. But there's even the small circles, I don't think you ever let anyone know because it's horrible. You don't want anyone else to know that.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
ChatGPT probably knows more.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've just moved to Claude. So
I'm about to. I've been,
it's better.
It's been happening.
No, it's really, I did it on the weekend.
I know.
Because it's a time thing, right?
Yeah.
So I downloaded everything from ChatGPT, put it into Claude, and then I said to Claude, right, you and I need to get to know each other. I'm going to give you an hour.
Yeah.
And it's much more engaging. My master prompt that I have in there is pretty brutal. Like I want it to be almost nasty to me because I want it to challenge everything.
I heard it has the new, the community where you can now, rather than it being biased, you can be like, ask the advisors or something, and it makes 5 advisors, 5 different.
Yeah, I haven't tried that, but I mean, but it can backfire you. Like I've said to it, I want it knows all my goals and things, right? And I said to, because I come up with ideas all the time and I get distracted very easily. And I've said to it, if I come up with something, just ask me, is that actually going to help me achieve my goals? Now, that's a great thing to do, right? But then it takes it too far because if you use it for something, I guess, that you probably shouldn't use it for, like, can you tell me who invented tomato ketchup or something like that, right? Right, you Google things. We tend to use AI for those things now. It now will say, before I answer that, is this helping you achieve your goal? And I'm like, no, this is not that one of those things. It's different. And it's just taking everything so far. So now I just feel like I'm wasting my time all the time because every time I ask, it's like, no, but I don't want to. It's like 10 o'clock at night. I don't want to achieve my goals now. I want to have a break. So you've got to be careful what you tell it.
I love that. I'm going to use that as a prompt.
I said, do not pander my ego, be brutal, question everything, really, really like, be the nasty person in my life. It's taking it very literally, obviously, because that's what it's designed to do. But it knocks your confidence a bit sometimes. Oh, crikey, that's rude.
I know. I actually use it to boost my confidence because I think women just get this natural thing where we kind of kill ourselves and assume the worst. And
absolutely. Drives me insane.
So sometimes in the morning I'll be just getting ready and I'll just put it on and be like, all right, we got to boost my confidence. Let's go. Tell me all the amazing things about me.
What have you programmed it to say?
I don't know. It just says that you're creating a influential product and you're on the right path.
So real proper, like, you should get it to play music at the same time.
Yeah, my husband asked, why is it a man? I was like, because I want it to
be a man. Yeah, because you're not. No, don't say that to him.
Well, at first I made a joke. I was like, well, because it's my bitch. And he was like, no, okay, that's not nice.
So you talk to it a lot as opposed to I forget which voice I had on ChatGPT. I couldn't decide. I didn't like any of them.
No. I talked to it and I talked to my husband. My husband, at the end of the day, he calls it downloading the cloud because he can literally see me like replaying everything that's like in my head. And then he can kind of see me kind of like boot down and need to go to sleep as soon as I've done it.
I find that it's really hard to – I have created a time when I switch off because otherwise – and I can be snappy if like my wife or kids are asking me something that is just to me mundane at that moment because I'm in the middle of something. I've tried really hard not to be that person, but it is hard because you're completely engrossed in it.
Yeah, that is probably one of the hardest things is you don't know how to switch off that I didn't realize. I thought I could compartmentalize.
What do you do? I know you can't. I always thought that. So what do you do? How do you do it now?
I'll
tell you how I do it.
Yeah, tell me.
No, I want to hear yours first because you might just copy.
I have to physically go and change my clothes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I read about this.
That's interesting.
You change your clothes, you change like your psychology of where you're at physically and mentally. So I go and change my clothes because I'm now off work. And then my phone goes into sleep mode or like non-work mode. So those notifications don't come through anymore. And there is like a pretty strict time of I'm now not available. No one's dying.
Yeah. I watch really bad television.
Oh my God. So, okay. So, well,
see, I told you were going to copy me.
No, but that's like what I do on the train. Like on the train ride home.
Yeah, okay.
I'll watch, oh my God, the Sisterhood of Mormon Wives. I don't watch trash TV.
Mormon Wives?
But the Mormon Wives one has me by
I did not know there was a show called Mormon Wives.
Has me by a grip hold. Otherwise, I've never watched a reality TV show in my life. But yes, trashy TV. Sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I mean, I watch bad movies. I just find that they just switch me off. But it's funny you say the clothes thing because I do a lot of work on the weekends. And when I work, I don't wear my watch on the weekends. And if I'm working, I put my watch on.
Yeah.
It kind of switches me into work mode. So I'll sit down at my dining table, put my watch on, work, and then take it off again. And my wife's office is like, why'd you put your watch on? I said, it's a mental thing. It's just kind of because it's metal and heavy and you can feel it. I don't know.
Yeah. My other secret is that if I'm having a hard time. Oh, so I started learning Swedish this year.
Why Swedish? It's not that common in the world. Pretty much just Sweden.
Yeah.
I don't imagine it's easy.
Nope.
What's the reason?
I met a Swedish girl when I was backpacking ages ago. We've stayed friends. She asked me to be in her wedding. I went to her wedding last June. And then her now husband works at an agency in Sweden and they are now a client. And so
okay, this makes sense now.
So now I go to these monthly whips with them and their clients, and everything they've put in the platform is Swedish, and they speak in Swedish, and I have to have German or Swedish subtitles on my calls, and so I took that as I'm going to start learning at least some Swedish.
How's it going?
So I do Duolingo every night, and because I'm doing it every night before I go to bed, it's like 2 to 3 minutes.
You dream
a little
in Swedish?
thing. No, God no, but it's like gobbledygook. And so then you've done 3 minutes, you've switched your brain to something that was completely a different side of the brain, and then you go to sleep and there's nothing in there. It's just empty because you're not retaining any Swedish.
And how's it going? Dare I ask? I've always thought about learning a language. I'm not good with languages. I'm very dyslexic, so that seems to have inhibited my ability. That's the excuse I tell myself. Could have nothing to do with it, but let's just run with it. But how have you found it?
I probably can do all the matching words things, but if you asked me to say something, I could probably only say vatten for water.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't know a single Swedish word, so you could say anything.
Yeah. Well, try being at a Swedish wedding where
everyone's speaking Swedish.
Everyone.
And they're not like the chef from the Muppets, right? They don't all jump up and down and
Swedish weddings are really cool, by the way.
They?
You should look them up on YouTube.
Just tell me.
They go for
I really don't have time
They go for like
Swedish
12 hours.
Oh, really?
They were it was insane. They had a Toastmaster. They had this whole entourage of events and things, and the speeches and the gifts, and it was so elaborate. And then after, they kept having breaks, and then you'd come back and they'd put a Taylor Swift song, and everyone would get on top of the chairs and spin their napkins, and it doesn't get dark until 2 in the morning. So the wedding started and it went until 2 in the morning and it was still light.
So does that include the ceremony or is that just a reception?
Everything, yeah.
So it's just one long party.
the longest.
Do they drink a lot, or is it a non-drinking kind of thing?
Oh my
is it
God,
just
so
crazy?
much drinking.
Oh, so much.
So much drinking. Every single toast had a shot.
Oh, I didn't imagine the Swedish as big drinkers. I don't know why. I've never thought about it actually.
They
But
were like little nip shots. And then there was like 3 different types of wine, and then multiple cocktails came out.
and what
I had to
what
really
little shot?
monitor myself.
Is it a Swedish liquor, or is it just
Yeah,
Scotch or something, or is it something that's
Lots of little Swedish specialty things. I don't know.
you don't know because you don't speak Swedish, or you didn't then?
No, but the poor bridesmaid sitting next to me, because I was a bridesmaid, so the other bridesmaid had to translate everything for me. Poor girl.
Didn't you have go Google on your phone? Have you tried the new earbuds? They apparently translate.
Well, I didn't
But
have
not Swedish,
I didn't
but
have
they-
internet at the time, and it was really hard. But I was able to use it to translate like the menu and the things, all like the signage. So that was helpful.
And now you've got a client in Sweden.
Mhm.
Will you get more? Probably.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have monthly webs. Like they have us as it's kind of like a new offering for them. So they're developing the offering, and
So they're like offering it to their clients.
yeah.
So they're
So
almost
we're
like an
finding
agent.
actually we've got kind of 2 go-to-markets. We've got agencies are using us as like their way to deliver faster and kind of embed themselves in their
Mhm.
clients. And then we've got the people who are doing it direct, and they're just using it, and then they're bringing on their partners.
Okay.
Mm.
Why enterprise? I mean, I know obviously there's a lot of reasons. They pay well, they're sticky, all those kinds of things. But for example, could I take your product and put it onto the Nudge website?
100%.
It's obviously much more simplistic. But why do you focus particularly on enterprise? Is it because just the complexity in there? You know, you could probably look at my website and just tell me. I don't think you need your tool. But is
Yeah.
that the reason?
That's the reason.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you don't have the visibility problem across large siloed teams. You can probably just tap on someone over their desk.
Yeah.
Where these enterprises are sometimes split by countries.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I'm actually going after the bigger, the messier, the better.
There's plenty of them.
I know.
So many.
So I'm thinking about brands that have different experiences per country, and they're trying to manage. They're trying to manage a different marketing team per country with a different experience, different website, and brand governance.
Different
across
outcomes,
those.
potentially?
Yeah.
Do they know their outcomes typically, or do they often actually not even know the outcome they want? Because it'd be very hard to work with someone who didn't know what they wanted out of it. How can you create a journey if you don't know where you're going?
I think there's a lot of businesses that have just been really successful off monopoly, and I don't think that
In Australia, yeah.
I don't think that that's going to work anymore. I think we're going to have to build really proactive customer experience brands that are faster, where historically these guys could take 6 to 9 months to fix a problem,
Yeah.
but they get it. They still get the client, and the client will deal with the friction because
Whilst they wait.
but the challenger brands are coming up hard and fast.
What do you think about, and this is slightly off topic, but I'm interested in your opinion. So we do a lot of brand building for leaders, which I think is becoming super important. Like you've just said, right? Some companies have become successful off monopolies. I think some companies have become successful because of their brand.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows who the leader is. But I think that customers now want to know who the leader is. They want to know what they're like as a person. They want to know what they stand for. Do you think that should be built into that customer? Like that's what we do. We do so much content for them, and it could be content for their website. It could be podcasts. It could be social media. It doesn't matter. Do you think that should be built into the journey? Are you seeing that trend?
Yeah. So we did an event a couple of weeks ago about how we were like buyers and bots, how you create customer experiences for dual audiences. When you had a human, you needed to create the brand, and the brand needed to understand what you stood for. And that could be visually apparent, but now you've got agents and someone who's never going onto your website anymore, and they need to get your brand perception from an agent. And so then how do you build that brand perception and that trust across all those channels and govern it so that the agent will pick it up? Because now it's picking up all that legacy content and that's going against you. So then there's all these cool tools that are looking at everyone's like, what's showing up in ChatGPT, what's showing up in Claude, and there's a bunch of tools trying to solve that problem. I'm thinking about what are you going to do when you find out about it, and how are you going to find that content? And so I'm trying to be that content governance and that
this
brand.
is your future.
that brand content governance of the journey, whether it's 0-click or they want to go through the whole process. How do you make it frictionless for 2 customers? And how do you really scrutinize it and build a system, an operating model that's fast? Because there's people trying to solve the operating model to make them really fast, but the customer's doing it too.
Interesting. So what does that product look like? Explain that to me. The new future that you mentioned at the beginning.
Well, I guess we're thinking maybe, I mean, right now you can like do virtual reality of like, you can like literally like film a house right now and it will create a 3D model of your house. Like I see that as being able to do that for the customer experience at some point.
Interesting.
Like think about like the Minority Report and being able to like put on some like glasses and be able to see your entire customer experience and be like walking through it in the journey. I know, right? But I think
I might
about
watch that again. That might be my crap movie tonight.
I know, but I think about it. It was one of my pitches on Techstars. I'm like, there's no one in a building with some Minority Report goggles looking at your experience and scrutinizing it and trying to figure out how it's going to be the best for you. They're really guessing and they're blind and they're looking at analytics and they're reactive and the whole metric is on an NPS score that no one's going to be filling out anymore because they're using Claude or they're using AI.
It's very true. Yeah, NPS is probably going to die.
What's NPS going to do? So I'm thinking about a new score. I'm thinking about the new way.
Brittany?
I haven't thought about the name yet.
Call it the Brittany score.
God, that's a bit pretentious.
Push the ego out there. Come on. Ask Claude tomorrow morning if you should call it that. Or sorry, ChatGPT, and see what he says.
Well, I'm already naming my journey builder Hazel after my second daughter.
I was guessing that was the name for second. That's a cool name. I like that name.
So we've got Nevam and Hazel. So we're building the journey builder, and then they'll kind of just evolve to be this really cool command center that you could upload strategy documents, upload all of your different data sources, and it kind of just understands end-to-end your entire customer experience, what you're trying to achieve, and then through the channels.
Wild.
Connecting all the points.
Is it better than you thought it was going to be? I don't mean the product. I mean your journey, like where you're at, like the founder stuff. I mean, obviously you've kicked some massive goals. You've got funding. You've got a team. You've got enterprise customers. You're doing demos. I mean, it's a pretty Cinderella story right now. Is it as fun as you thought it would be?
Yeah. But also,
you said that so quietly. Yeah,
it is. But then you don't realize like how much, how you can feel the most ultimate high and the most ultimate low at the same time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So,
no one can understand. See, you can't explain that to someone. So people look at you and go, "What the heck does that mean?"
No, you just don't. I just can't believe how I can feel so much joy and also so much stress at the same time. You know?
You do get used to it though.
You do. But then it kind of makes you numb.
Yeah, I feel there's a lot of things that I'm numb to. I don't think that's a good. I don't know. Is it
no,
a good thing,
it's like
it'd be good for my heart.
Like I got the Innovator Award a couple weeks ago at Women Leading Tech.
I did not know that. Why did we not look that up? Congratulations.
Thank you. And I got the award. I was absolutely baffled and immediately
baffled.
But I mean, I didn't go in thinking I would get it. I was a finalist for 2 categories, entrepreneur and innovator, and the entrepreneur went and I didn't get it. I literally sat at the table with me and a couple of my team, and I literally filmed it and took a photo of it and was like, and it was a shock to me. And I still and then, some media came out about it. It was all really exciting. And then people are still congratulating me. And I kind of was like, oh yeah, I don't know.
Got to get back to work.
I gotta go make money. It was just like this. I thought it would be this life-changing moment. I've got this plaque. It's really cool. It's like a thing that no one will ever be able to take away from me. But you get it, and then you're like, the next one.
There are so many things we do that are so exciting, and then they're not not even an hour later. Like you build these milestones up, and even more so like with something like Pillars, which is a physical place, right? We have events and we opened it and we're having our first birthday. Yeah, and you get so excited, but literally the next day, hello, here we go again. It's funny, isn't it?
It is.
It's a never ending. It's a never ending. I don't want to say treadmill because it's not. Have you ever read the book? I think you should read this book. I think you'd like it. I think I might have told you this when you were doing your pitch thing. It's called The Gap and the Gain.
No, I haven't read it.
It's by a guy called Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He's a fascinating character, right? I listen to a lot of his stuff on YouTube. But the book, and I would listen to it on audio because he narrates it. I like listening to books when the authors narrate it because you always get extra parts.
Yeah.
The Gap and the Gain is very much about founders particularly, because founders are always looking forwards, goal, but they never look back, right? And it's unhealthy because like you just said, you have highs and then the lows, boom, straight after, right? The Gap and the Gain makes you look back on what you've achieved and recognize it, and it takes away some of the pain in some respects. Now, there's a lot of things he talks about in there. There's only one thing I really took away with it that I do practically. I'm notoriously bad at journaling, and he talks a lot about that. I don't journal. What I do, and I do it on the Notes app on my phone, is every morning I write the 3 things I want to achieve that day. These are the 3 things I want to achieve that day. It takes 20 seconds. And then every night, this probably takes about 2 minutes, I write the 3 things that I did that had the most impact. They're often completely different.
Yeah.
And what it makes you realize is what often happens is you go, oh my God, I wanted to do those 3 things today. I didn't do those 3 things. It's so annoying. I'm so annoyed with myself. But then if you actually go, oh, hold on, the 3 things I did do are far more impactful. Actually, I did have a good day. Yes. And it's a very simple little thing, but it keeps you much more positive and less harsh on yourself. But read the book. It's a fascinating book, and it helps you get through, because I think that founders are awful on themselves all the time. And this kind of makes you do that a little bit less, makes you think it's like your Claude moment and your ChatGPT moment in the morning. Yeah. So it's a really, really good book. You'll love it. It will change the way you think about a lot of things.
I appreciate that. I also have like on my wall next to my desk some Post-its that are like moments where I'm like, you should be fucking proud of that.
Yeah.
So I've got those and they're time stamped. So it's like, okay, cool. Like I said earlier, at this time last year, I was about to go into a raise, had zero confidence, had just had my deck ripped to shreds, told that I wasn't going to be able to raise. And I was...
Good day.
Oh, it was a great day. and I barely had a client, and I felt... And then all of a sudden, like office works, a couple other clients, it was just like, whoa.
It's amazing how quickly things can change. So you know what? When you change to Claude, you should maybe take those Post-it notes, tell Claude, and tell Claude to remind you on a certain date of those things. I haven't tried that, but I'm sure it would work. Rather than having Post-it notes.
Good idea.
And then you can hear someone say it.
Look, I'm an ex-consultant. Post-it notes are kind of like the OG. They are kind of all over my place. Like there's like, no one stops you but you. You make the best decisions you can. They're kind of everywhere. It's like little inspiration.
Is your house just like looks like a sort of, I don't know, like a jigsaw puzzle that's been spread out?
No, I've only got certain places that I have. But my whole family and everyone looks forward to my New Year's event, because every New Year's, everyone who comes gets to plan their family goals and strategy session. So the beginning of the day starts.
You have a strategy session on New Year's Eve?
Yep. It's your resolution strategy day. So I set up the wall with everyone's names across the top, including the kids. And then along the side is like the next 3-month, 6-month, 12-month personal goal. How old are your kids? 3 and 6.
When they're teenagers, they're going to love it.
They love it now. Like, so this was
they love everything at that age. They love you. They think you're the best. But mine are 16 and 18. They don't love any of your ideas anymore.
But we have about 20 people who come for the last 3 years.
And do you report back the next year on how you went? Oh my God, do people not come if they haven't done it? They go, I'm not coming because I didn't hit any of my goals.
So we did our 3rd year. So it was like, we've done 2 full years, and this was our 3rd year, this one. And everyone came back, and it was like this amazing celebration because some people wanted a 3rd baby. Some people wanted a new job. Some people, like I wanted to raise. Luke wanted to hike Kokoda. Like we did all those things. And then there was some things that was like, hey, what were the things you didn't achieve? Why? Like, and it was every time someone said what they did achieve, it was like a whole applause. And it was like the one time that everyone got to celebrate their family goals.
That's so cool. I love that you do that.
Like Maven wanted to ride a bike. And so when it was her time, she's like, I learned how to ride a bike, and everyone applauded her. And
yeah, that's cool. That is cool.
It's one of those things where it's probably the only time where you get to celebrate it outside of your family, and it actually becomes a milestone that they look forward to.
Yeah. Do you do that early on in the night?
Oh, it's at the beginning of the day when you first arrive.
Just checking.
Everyone brings a dish. So we course the meal throughout the day. So everyone brings like a course throughout the day. And it's at the first course.
Sounds like a Swedish wedding.
Yeah. Well, it was when the Swedish people were here visiting, we kind of created this plan. And so a fireball shot on arrival.
Fireball shot on what time?
Probably like midday.
You know, the thing with fireball, once you've had one shot, it's in your mouth for the rest until you wake up the next day and brush your teeth.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The last time I did fireballs was when we hit 100 shows for this podcast.
Okay.
And we all did fireballs before the party. We did too many fireballs before the party.
Is this 195 episodes right now?
Oh, Hayo's not here. I don't know exactly what number it is.
Because if this was episode 200, we should just say it's episode 200.
We can release it. We can just wait. We can film another 5. We don't have to release them in any
Okay, great.
order.
Go get a shot of Fireball. We'll have a shot of Fireball for your episode 200.
I haven't got any Fireball. Thank God. There's no Fireball here. We banned it from the office after that.
Oh, probably a good idea. But there's never a time when there's not a bottle of Fireball in my house.
That's
terrifying. For such an occasion that might need to celebrate something. Or when the kids are really horrible.
I'm going to say, don't give it to the kids.
No, don't.
Don't give it to the kids. Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm super impressed with what you've done. I've told you that a number of times. I'm incredibly humbled by how humble you are about what you've achieved. Like what you have achieved, and I know I called it a Cinderella story, but it's come off the back of the work you've done. It's come off the back of your willingness to take feedback at all the stages. And as you said, you've had some pretty brutal people, including me, talk to you about things, but you haven't got upset. You might have got upset, but you hit it, did some fireball, came back stronger. And it's come off the back of you building an incredible product that solved a massive problem that enterprise people, 72 of them, are willing to sit down and talk to you about. I mean, you can't, this is one of those moments where you need to look back and go, it's a pretty bloody impressive couple of years. So well done.
Thank you.
We're going to get you back on maybe in, I don't know, depends how much you do in the next year. I was going to say 18 months, but maybe sooner. But it's incredible. You should be so proud. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with your new, what are we going to call it? We're going to call it not the MPS score. We're going to call it the Brittany score.
It's like I don't want to use CX score. I'm going to come up with something really good.
Ask Claude.
Yeah.
Come up with some. They come up with some.
I've asked it a lot, and it's just really boring. So
I'll
wait until I can.
But do you then say stop being so boring? I say that to it all the time. These are boring. You need to come up with something. I said go completely wild. That's what I type to it.
Yeah.
Try that.
Yeah, I'll come back to you on what the score.
Let us know. Let me know.
The Steve score.
You can call it that. I'm fine with that. I will then take that snippet that we can create out of this and I'll pump it out everywhere.
Great.
But no, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great having you. And it's crazy. Well done.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. And it's fun. It's a fun circle.
It is. Circular trust.
Yeah. Thank you.